He's on the left front, Lizzie.
One shot, one shot, one shot. Get out of here. You're literally dying to zone.
Wait.
Are you? Down the snipe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Above. 92.
Wow. Ghosted.
Where am I stopping?
In here with me. He's in. Why? Why the? Hey, guess what, dude? Rose skin in a dark corner. Ha 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 ha.
Man, great aim, brother. Dude, insane aim. Holy good. Jesus Christ.
10 months, no anti-cheat. 10 months.
He crashed into a tree.
Jesus. These are the types of players that have to cheat. They suck so bad they can't do anything else.
These other two, they hired him on Fiverr to get a W.
Let's watch. This guy takes a car and hits everything.
Yep.
No, yeah, he ran us over. X Games was the one who shot us.
Blue's not even trying.
7 hours later.
Come on, if I do.
Let's go,
Oh,
baby.
let's go, Lazy. Hey, that's the clean dub I was looking for. I had 16 that game.
I had 12. That's the
16,
gameplay I
12,
needed.
9. Man, that was a comeback game too, wasn't it?
So, I'm not gonna lie, the last week or so has been brutal within Warzone, and those clips probably showcase that pretty well. But those times that my squad and I were in the groove, well, we might have another sleeper weapon here on our hands. If you guys remember the Bruin meta, well, this might even be better than that and have the possibility to get even better once attachments are fixed out here from Cold War's integration into Warzone. So today we're going to be talking about the sleeper that is the stoner within Warzone and letting you know everything you need to as to why you should be using it and what build you should be using with it. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you guys used the stoner? Do you like it? If you haven't, let me know how you like it if you decide to try it out and anything in between. As well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure that subscribe button. We're on the road to 400,000 subscribers and we'll keep you up to date with all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. That said, let's talk about the stoner. So admittedly, unlike last week when we talked about the sleeper that was the fastest killing weapon in all of Warzone, today we're going to be talking about one that doesn't quite crack that list, but it's just on the outside of that top 10. But at the same time, it's a weapon that you wouldn't really want necessarily for close range where we talked about those TTK values, but rather it's better suited for mid-range to somewhat long range because of the properties that it affords. When you look at the stoner, there's a few things that should stand out and that you should focus on. The TTK for relative understanding of how many shots you'll need to be hitting, the bullet velocity because it's honestly an incredibly weird curveball that we'll get to in a second, and then things like your speed attributes such as your ADS, your movement, and your reload speeds because you're dealing with a heavier weapon here at this. So let's take a look at some of these data points, give some tangible backing as to the reasoning as to why you should be using it, and let you know that it's not just placebo. For TTK, this comes down to where you want to use it. According to the COD professor himself, J God, the TTK comes in at around 568 milliseconds to 651 milliseconds in close range. Now that varies depending on the shots and where you end up hitting those shots on your targets. 568 milliseconds is going to be with headshots in the mix there, and it'll take 5 to 6 shots to kill with that. The 651 millisecond TTK is no headshots in the mix at all, it's just all body or extremities. That'll then change to be about 735 milliseconds in TTK outwards past 30 meters, bringing you to a 9-shot kill without headshots and then 6 to 8 shots with them mixed in, which at a distance is still pretty solid. So when you consider that number 10 on that TTK list that we talked about last week for close quarters, that was the Mac 10 coming in at 538 milliseconds. It suddenly makes this weapon feel pretty good even outside of its comfort range of being in close quarters. I mean, because when you think about it, the Mac 10 absolutely shreds, right? So to only have 0.03 of a second behind the Mac 10, that's not half bad at all. Then you consider things that are more situated for longer ranges than that of the close range values for the Mac 10, and it fortifies that position that the stoner is pretty solid, even a little further if you ask me. Now, the bullet velocity, this one is just weird, like really weird. If you were to take a look at most of the barrels within Modern Warfare's weaponry, you'll see that for the most part, they play in any number of ADS, movement, bullet velocity, and damage range value attributes. But the stoner has only one barrel that actively plays into what is stated as the bullet velocity attributes. But that's the Task Force barrel, and we've known the Task Force barrels across the board have been ungodly broken since integration. There's not a single other barrel that mentions bullet velocity by name. You have things like the 18.5 20.6-inch division barrel mentioning shooting move speed and added damage, which, by the way, that's incorrect. It doesn't actually add damage. You also have things like the 20.7-inch match grade barrel mentioning its bonus to effective damage range. So both of those are still good, but nothing that mentions bullet velocity or helps it that is stated. Except there is one that doesn't actually mention it. If your last choice of barrel was the one that mentions the vehicle damage as the only bonus here with that, you're probably not alone. But the odd part is this actually drastically improves bullet velocity, meaning that your shots will be much more accurate at a distance as you won't have to account for lead or bullet drop as much. It's actually kind of wild when you compare them side to side. So we'll get to it in a second when we run down the loadout for the weapon itself, but the 17.8-inch Cavalry Lancer barrel should be the only option here for this when you go and craft this weapon build. Now, let's talk about some speed attributes before we move over into the weapon itself. As for ADS, this is a little bit less favorable when you consider how fast some weapons are, but I mean, that's partially to be expected when you consider that you're wielding a heavy weapon by comparison. The ADS on this is just under half a second, so it takes a little bit to get up. It's not going to be that weapon of choice that you'll want when you go into a stairwell or a smaller building or trailer, but instead this should be the weapon you choose to pick people off at somewhat of a distance where you have that time to ADS and shoot while also still not really having to risk if the other player is going to hit their shots. Oddly, like the barrel situation, there are no real attachments that speed up the ADS. In Modern Warfare's weaponry, we have multiple attachments per weapon that can speed up ADS speed, not just limited to one category either. You have tons of rear grips like the stippled grip tape, you have stocks that can help out like CQB stocks, but then you also have the laser attachments that speed up ADS, not to mention some weapons have ADS bonuses upon the barrel you choose as well. But when you consider that the only weapon options for Cold War right now are the rear grips, and they seem to be broken across the board and don't offer any benefit, you can't really seem to mitigate or speed up that ADS by a whole lot. As for movement, the movement of the Stoner actually is pretty solid when it comes to LMGs. Of course, overall it could be better, but it's pretty mobile for an LMG. Clocking in at about 93% of the base movement speed, which is just basically running with your fists out. It's actually tied for the highest of the LMG mobility properties, even beating out the Bruin, which was the previous meta of about 90%. But if you're like me, you like speed, so this may be something that makes you choose another weapon in addition to this for your loadout that you can swap to when you're running and trying to get from point A to point B, aka an SMG. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. As for the reload, this is another perplexing piece of the puzzle here because the fast mag attachments past the first initial fast mags actually don't offer any benefit here with this. So your 120 round speed mag, your Vandal speed reloader, those not only don't mitigate your reload speed, but also they hurt your ADS a little bit as well, adding a little bit more time to how fast, or I guess in this case slow, you can end up bringing your weapon up to ADS. But all that out of the way, and of course letting you know that it's pretty solid here, I would definitely recommend this loadout here for the weapon. The Agency Suppressor, the 17.8-inch Cavalry Lancer barrel, the Vision Tech 2x optic, the Field Agent foregrip, and the Fast Mag. Now, here's a couple of things you can actually throw around here because they do, of course, change depending on how you want to play the weapon itself. I would definitely recommend the SAS Combat stock in place of the Fast Mag if you don't care too much about that reload speed. Also, when it comes to other ammunition, the 120 round mag is definitely something I've seen a lot of people play into, but realistically 75 rounds is more than enough here for me in terms of taking out multiple enemies. And while the reload isn't as fast as say that 60 round mag that the Bruin had, it is still relatively quicker and you can still do a lot of damage. So I think this is probably better suited for taking 2-3 engagements, maybe not 4 and 5 if you end up trying to wipe a squad or challenging 2 squads at once. But overall, the weapon itself has a relatively solid build that you can kind of pinpoint and actually do well with. For the most part, again, that core being the Agency Suppressor to keep you off the radar and give you that extra damage range, the Cavalry Lancer for that extra bullet velocity, which is unnamed in the weapon stats, that Vision Tech 2x optic here just because it feels a little bit better than just say a red dot sight or a mill stop, but also you don't need as much a zoom as say the 3x offers, and then the Field Agent foregrip for that vertical and horizontal recoil. The rest, that final attachment slot, definitely can work with however you want it to, but after that we talked about the fact that I like to have that extra mobility, so I do run this with an overkill of an SMG, that being the Mac 10 for 100% movement speed and a weapon that can absolutely shred through enemies. For that I run our normal Agency Suppressor, 5.3-inch Ranger, the SAS Combat stock, the Field Agent efficient foregrip, and then the 53 round fast mag as well, which the fast mag actual reload part, a little bit bugged, but hopefully after the fixes that Raven and Treyarch mentioned, this will be something a little bit more viable in terms of the overall usefulness of that specific attachment. Finally, closing out the loadout with EOD, overkill to run that second weapon, and amped to get that faster weapon swap, and a lethal of a Semtex, and a tactical of a stun grenade. Overall, in terms of my thoughts for the weapon itself, I've been playing with this for about a week now at this point, and honestly, if you enjoyed the Bruin meta, I think you're really going to enjoy this weapon and this build here for the Stoner. Statistically speaking, it beats out the Bruin in many ways, from damage properties and damage per shot values to the lesser thought of things like the movement speed. So if you're looking for a weapon that is absolutely capable of packing a punch but still can allow you to get in and out of situations, I would absolutely recommend running this. So we might see a new meta here emerging sometime soon, but for the time being, maybe get ahead on this while you can. Start ranking up your Stoner so that you can end up using it in Warzone as the powerhouse that it is. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Stoner? Have you used it? Do you like it? Have you not used it? And if so, let me know how you do with it if you decide to. That said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But let's say another way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.